Alright guys, we're going to be wrenching on the slash today. We're going to be changing out the spur gear. A little spur gear here, cheap ones off of Amazon. I got 3 of them for like $11.99 I think. Really reasonable price. Before we get started, I'll show you the tools that I'm using. I got this off of Walmart for like $15. But they have, you know, a lot of these smaller bits that you're going to need for working on stuff like RC cars, electronics. But the thing I like about this is you open it up and all these trays just like stand up, so that it's easy access to be able to get into any of the bits. I don't know if I can get them to stand up now, of course, when I go to show somebody something. Alright, I'll stand these up. And then you've got all your bits that you're going to need and a little bitty wrench. So that's going to help in changing out bits, so you're not using those little Allen keys that this thing comes with. But we're going to get to wrenching on this thing, and we'll get to a little close up so we can get to see what everything's all about and how to do this and how easy it is. What's up, YouTube? Just wanted to say, you know, the first video I'd put out and the second one, the video was in pretty good quality. I used my GoPro Hero 4. Audio wasn't all that great. Found out that when it's in the case, it doesn't really pick up your voice so well. So I've got some parts on order from Amazon. I'll get an external mic, try to help improve the sound quality. But for right now, I'm just going to film without the case on it and hope that the audio comes through a little bit more clear. Alright, so our first step is going to be, we're going to go ahead and take this body off, get down to a little bit of the internals of this body. And what we're going to be doing is the spur gear is in this piece right here. I don't know if you can see that. Let's zoom in a little bit. Alright, so we're going to have to take these screws out here on top, and then we'll flip her over. We got some screws down here on the bottom, and that holds the whole rear end in. So we're going to take those out, pull that rear end out, and try to extract that spur gear out of there. So, get my tools together over here. I believe it's the 2.0, and it's not. It's the 1.5. These are backwards. All right. That's not it either. Oh Lord. Alright. One day we'll get this situated. Not that one either. We will find the right bit. This thing's got all of them, so of course the one I skipped over is probably the one I needed. Oh, perfect. I'll go ahead and break that loose real quick. And we'll unscrew this bolt right here. Let's get a little closer so they can see what we're working with. Oh, they're good and snug. All right. Let me move my hands. Got big fat sausage fingers. Pull these screws out of here real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Alright, that takes care of those two up top. Go ahead and roll her over. Grab these two on the bottom here. That whole back piece should slide right out. Alright, now you can see our situation here. We got this spur gear and it's stripped out bad like. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip her back over. Actually, see if I can do it from here. Alright, look at there. And we'll pull that whole piece out. Looks like the bearing's a little loose there. Needs some cleaning up. So what we're going to do, we're going to take these parts, get the right bit for this thing right here that goes to the drive shaft. We're going to leave that one out. Go to a smaller one here. Pop that joker loose. Take that piece off here. I'm going to set that over here where it doesn't get any sand or dirt in it right now. Grab a pair of pliers. Loosen this one off. There we go. It's moving. Very slowly but surely. Losing my brake pads. That's 2. Alright. We'll put these in order so that we know exactly how they go back together. So now that we got the slipper clutch apart, you can see these little brake pads in here. I've gone and upgraded to aluminum brake pads. But we're going to take these 3 screws out and get that center bearing out of there. Oh, they changed sizes on me again. Let's go back up. And we'll sit here. There's one. Always make sure that you keep your screws and your bolts and nuts all separated in the order that you've taken them off, so you don't have to remember which way they go back together. It makes it a little bit easier. I take them apart and start staging them from the right to my left, so that when I go back to put it back together, I start from my left and go back to my right and everything is in order. Makes it a little bit simpler when repairing these things, so that you're not messing up the order and the pattern that these things go in here. What we'll do is we'll get a little flathead bit right now. We'll pop right up under that little disc brake. Pop that out of there. And we'll push the bearing. So that is our old spur gear, all ate up, tore up, and I know why it happened, but we'll go into that after I get the new spur gear in. We'll go in and figure out how we can fix it from happening again. All right. Open up the new spur gear if I can. Make these things child-proof, but I think they make them adult-proof, honestly. Alright, so what we're going to do, we're going to line up our brakes again. Make sure we get our brake pads on there, all 3 of them. Because these brake pads are going to go down on this spur clutch. Last brake pad in there. Takes a little tinkering sometimes. Alright. Now that that's in there, you want to hold that nice and snug. We're going to set this part down on top of it. Line up those pins to the back side of that spur gear. Once that's done, we're going to put these back in here. Trying to keep focused on the screws, but I don't want to leave y'all with a silent video as well, so I'm going to try to keep talking through this Just make sure that you're keeping pressure against those brake pads so they don't fall out. And we'll go ahead and get this last screw in here real quick. Look at there. Alright, so with that there, make sure that we clean this bearing off, get all that sand out of there, because that sand will kill the life of that bearing. Sit there and line her up. Get that bearing pressed in there real good. Make sure your brakes are still in. And then we see these pieces here as well. And get all the sand off those pieces as we can. Usually I have my blower out here doing it with my blower, but unfortunately my battery to my blower is dead today, so we'll try to do it without it. Let's set that down here like so while we clean this bearing. It's got a lot of gunk in there. Wouldn't be better if I had paper towels, but you know, wasn't really prepared for all this today, I guess. Trying to make this video before the sun goes down today. It's getting dark where I'm at. We're up here in North Georgia, trying to get all this stuff figured out. And go ahead and tighten this screw back down here. And they say that you want to tighten it down all the way and then back off about 1 1/4 turns. And that way you get your slipper clutch adjusted so that it slips when you need it to, but not under the slightest bit of pressure. You want it to be on when you need it to be, but when you don't want it to break your drive shafts and your drivetrain, you want it to be able to slip to release some of that excess pressure to keep you from snapping those drive shafts and other pieces in your drivetrain. So I'm just going to tighten her down until she's all the way tight, and then we will back her off. Alright, that's all the way down. You can see that that spring's as tight as it'll go. So we're going to go 1/2, then another 1/2, and then 1/4. I'm going to do it just a little bit more, just to make sure that when you're doing it, it's not going to, see how easy that is to turn. You don't want it to be too easy, so we're going to snug that up just a hair more. There we go. Alright, so now that we got those pieces back together, well, snap that back into place. We're going to look in here, and I can see that there's some sand in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside real quick. We're going to grab a paper towel. We're going to clean that up a little bit. Alright guys, sorry that took a little bit longer than I thought. We got her all cleaned up, ready to go. While I was cleaning, the drive shaft came out. I thought y'all would like to see this because in the vehicle you don't really get to see it, but it's got the Traxxas name, all aluminum, and these have gearing inside on both sides, so that when you put in your clutch and your slipper clutch, where the heck did my piece go? I've lost my piece. Oh no, here it is. So when you put this piece back on your spur gear, it inserts in here, and this is what drives your unit for front wheel drive and rear wheel drive. So I'm just gonna slip that back in like so. We're gonna take this and put this back on our spur gear and our slipper clutch. So we're gonna put this, there's a flat spot on your spur gear and your slipper clutch. This flat spot is where you want that screw to go into, so it has a place to bite. So we're gonna get that and figure out which bit we need for that one. I think it's this one here. It is. We're gonna tighten this down. Usually you want to put some thread tight on, or Loctite on it, which I have, but this one already had some already on the screw in there. So we're gonna reinsert this into here and just push it up through the body. Well, let's see if I can slide that further in actually. And get that meshed in there real good. Is that all the way up in the front? Nope. So spin it around a little bit. There we go. Now she's in there. Alright. Now that we have our new spur gear installed, all we're going to do is put the rear end back on. And in order to do this, there's a little tab right here. So you want to make sure that you slip underneath that tab as you're sticking it in there and bolting it down so that it stays where it's supposed to. See how I went over the tab? You got to be underneath that tab. So that gives you a little bit more support, you know, when doing your jumps and your tricks and things like that. So I'm going to take these screws and I'm just going to screw those 4 screws back in here, and we'll come back after I'm done with that. Alright, we've got the car back together, and I said earlier in the video that I knew why the spur gear was stripped out, and I do. What had happened was my pinion gear actually loosened up while I was bashing on the beach and came loose and started shredding into that spur gear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that pinion gear out and I'm going to put some Loctite on that lock nut that's on there to keep it from being able to loosen up when we're bashing around and doing jumps and stunts and really giving it hell throughout the yard and wherever I take it to go bashing. So we're going to take this screw out here. I don't know if you can see it. I'll have him zoom in real quick. I'm going to take out this screw right here in the back, and then this piece right here I may have to get a flathead screwdriver bit again. And we'll take this, we'll pry up on this part right here. There we go. And once we lift this piece out, then we'll be able to see our pinion gear here. Now, this pinion gear, it's got to be meshed. And what you want is you want it to be not that loose. Actually, what I'm going to do, let me prop this body up on some tires real quick because I'm going to get these wheels off the ground. Prop that up like so. That way I can spin this gearing. It just seems like it's a little loose. So we're going to adjust this out real quick. So I'm going to pull that up there. And this one is not the right size. They like to switch sizes on you a lot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to loosen up this motor mount right here. And that'll make it easy for the motor to slide in and out. And then I'm going to grab a smaller bit for this right here. We're going to loosen this one up just a hair. Actually, I'm going to take the screw all the way out. Alright, get my tools magnetized so I can pull that out of there. There we go. Alright, so this is that little locker screw that keeps that from sliding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that locker screw. I'm going to add just a little dab. Oh, it's not even open, is it? Of course it's not. So it's fine. I've got all sorts of tools here. We'll get it open. Just pop a hole right here on top of that. Or if that doesn't work, there's always cutting it. If I can cut it. And there we go. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add just a little bit of that blue thread lock. And that way it won't come loose again while we're running. So I want to make sure that that gear is right in line with my spur gear. And then we will Put this screw back in here with that thread lock on there. Give it a nice snug. And that way, we ain't got to worry about that. So what we want it to be tight, but we also want just a little bit of play in there. See if we can get some light on the subject here. There we go. Alright, that is dead tight. So what we're going to do is we're just going to back it off. Just the slightest. And wrench it down. That way. There we go. That is really good mesh. Gives it a little bit of play so it's not binding up on you, but it makes it nice and snug enough to where it's not going to strip it out again. And I think that mesh looks really good. Try to get some light in from back this side. Here. There we go. How's that? That look a little better? That's a nice, good mesh. It's got just a little bit of play in it, but not too much. And then we'll put that lid back over the top of that, just like so. Can't really hold the light and throw this in there, but we will see what I can figure out here. There we go. All right, I'll get that lined up. We'll take our last screw, put that in there, and change my bits for the last time, I think. Maybe. And I think that should do it for that. We will get this. See where I can get the light in. There we go. My sunlight has run out in North Georgia. But that's alright. We've got phone lights, we've got cameras, we got action, and we'll get it all squared away. Alright guys, so that is it. Hoped you liked the video. Like I said, sorry about the sun going down so early in the day. I had a lot of things to do today, so didn't get to start this video as early as I had hoped, but we'll get these tools put away, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change these tires out from these sanding paddle tires to an actual street thread so that we can go out and start bashing around the yard. I'm going to probably put the GoPro on top of the car, get it mounted up, and that way y'all can get a real good first person view of how this thing really goes at it. Always remember, like and subscribe. I'm just getting started, but hopefully we'll keep producing content like this all the time, teach y'all how to do things, and hopefully get more people into the hobby. It's a fun thing to do. Cars aren't exactly the cheapest thing in the world, but I mean, they don't have to be the most expensive either. I got my son's for I think $159, and his does about 35 miles an hour. It's a good start, and you can always upgrade as you go along. So hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and we'll present you with more entertaining stuff like this. Thank you.